What's up YouTube? In today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the HYDROS launch. In today's video, we are going to be taking a closer look at the CoralView HYDROS launch. We're going to be unboxing, taking a closer look at everything that this controller can do for us. We will also be onboarding this into the HYDROS app and also setting up a few additional accessories like the Salinity Probe and some more dosing pumps. Let's start unboxing and see everything that comes with the controller. So inside the box we get the HYDROS launch controller. We also get a pH probe, some calibration solution, a temperature probe, and a HYDROS sticker. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at what we get on the controller. So on the launch we get a pH/ORP probe. We also get a port for the Salinity Probe, 4 drive ports that can control 12-volt devices. Some 12-volt devices that we can use on that are going to be HYDROS COMORE dosing pump. We also get 4 AC outlets, 2 command bus ports, so we can link this into the rest of our HYDROS devices and build our collective. And we also get a 0 to 10 volt in port. We also get 4 sense ports. This would be for adding things like level sensors for an ATO or temperature sensor, which is one thing that we will be hooking up because the temperature sensor that comes with this unit will end up occupying one of these ports. Okay, let's start onboarding the HYDROS launch into the HYDROS app. I am going to get the HYDROS app open. Up to this point, only thing I have done was put some power onto this. I'm going to select my hamburger menu. I'm going to click on the plus button. We are going to look for my launch, which is this device right here with no name. We're going to click on the launch. It is now looking for available SSIDs or networks on my home network. We are going to put this on my HYDROS channel 11. I'm going to go ahead and put in my Wi-Fi password here. I'm going to call this waterbox-launch for the device name. We're going to click submit. Now it's going to go through the process of registering the device to the cloud, installing the root certificate, and now we're installing a private key. Registration successful. We're going to select continue. We're going to wait for the device to reboot. Alright, we're going to select my status screen, hit the drop down arrow. I'm going to click on the hamburger menu. We can see 3 different devices. We see my 40-gallon frag tank collective, we see my water box wave engine, and we also see my water box launch. We're going to click on the launch. I'm going to click the 3 dots up in the right corner. We're going to select device properties, and there are no firmware updates on this one because it's already running the latest firmware. That is the firmware version that matches across my other HYDROS devices. So onboarding was successful. Alright, I'm going to get this thing taken upstairs and get it mounted to the Waterbox Reef X, and we'll pick up getting this thing configured for the Salinity Probe, the pH probe, and also the dosing pumps once I have everything in line. I've got everything connected for the HYDROS launch. I've already ran my data cable from downstairs, connected to my collective there, and added my wave engine into the collective. This is the cable that is running from the wave engine, and it is going over to the launch. We can also see that I've already got a few options connected to the launch. Alright, a little background on what I've got going on here. Dosing pump number 1 connects to drive port 1 on the launch. Dosing pump number 2 connects to drive port number 2 on the launch. I also have my 5-liter dosing containers sitting on top of mixers, and those are connected to AC outlets 1 and 2 on the launch. Up here are my dosing pumps. I have successfully been running this schedule on here for a few days, but as soon as we go to add this device into my collective, it is going to erase the configuration, so we'll have to reconfigure everything to get it back up and running. Let's begin adding the launch to my collective. I'm going to get the HYDROS app open. You can see the launch right here on the screen. I'm going to select the hamburger menu. I'm going to hit the drop down arrow. I'm going to select my collective. I'm going to hit the hamburger menu again, and on the devices, we can see all of the devices that are already a part of my collective. So I'm going to select the plus button to add a device to my collective. For the HYDROS device drop-down menu, I'm going to select the water box launch, and then we'll say upload changes. Alright, we need to start reconfiguring the HYDROS device. So I don't have anything on any of the sense ports quite yet. On AC outlet 1, we are running mixer 1. So I'm going to select this port. We're going to call this mixer 1. We just want this to be a generic output. I want this to be based on any inputs right now, and we are going to say upload changes. So after we upload those changes, and we turn it on, we can now see mixer number 1 came back on. So I'm going to select the back menu. On AC outlet number 2, I'm going to call this mixer 2. I'm going to select this as a generic output, and we are going to just select upload changes. It might be a little difficult to see it, but mixer number 2 just kicked on. So on drive port 1, so I'm going to call this dose 1-ATI1, and I like to give my dosing pumps a descriptive name as into how I'm able to locate it. So like this, I'm calling dose pump 1. I have a label on it that tells me it's pump number 1. And then I know it's using dosing fluid ATI1. We'll say create. From the output type, we'll select simple doser. We need to set the milliliters per minute for this pump. This one is a 43 milliliter per minute pump. So I'm just going to put in 43. This one is connected to drive port 1. For the HYDROS to notify me, I use a 5-liter reservoir, so I want the HYDROS to notify me when my reservoir is at 1 liter. So I'm going to say upload changes. Now on drive port 2, I need to select this. We're going to call this dose 2-ATI2. I'm going to click create. For the output type, we're going to select simple doser. We're going to select the pump speed to be 43. It is on drive port 2. I want the HYDROS to notify me when my dosing reservoir is down to 1 liter. And we're going to select upload changes. Alright, now I need to go back and recreate my schedule. So I'm going to go into the schedules. I'm going to select add. Call this schedule ATI1-2 underscore schedule. I'll say create. It wants to know the type. We're going to say dosing regimen. Total amount per pump. I've been using 150 per pump. So I'm going to set this to 150. Dose count, we're going to just say 48. We want to use 2 pumps. For dose pump 1, we're going to select dose ATI1. For dose pump 2, we're going to select dose ATI2. Delay between doses, ATI recommends a 15-minute period. between each doser, so I'm going to set this to 10. I want this to run in 1 day, and it doesn't depend on anything. And we're going to say upload changes. Now that the dosing pumps have been added, I need to work on calibrating the dosing pumps. So I'm going to select the hamburger menu. I'm going to select the status screen. We are going to go down and find those dosing pumps. And in the app, it thinks that the reservoir is low. That is because we haven't set it yet. I'm going to work on getting these calibrated. For me, I'm only going to calibrate these once because I already know what they ran at before. But anytime you calibrate a new pump, I recommend doing it twice, so that way you can confirm that that number is the same after the initial calibration. So we're going to select dose 1 ATI. We're going to select calibrate. And we're going to select continue. It is now filling up my cylinder. So one thing to note, there is a link light LED on this dosing pump. One thing I noticed, this light did not turn on. So I think that is expected behavior because the pump does work as expected. So just wanted to point that out in case anyone runs into an issue with these pumps and expecting that light to turn on. So it finished. So based on calibration, it did 42 mLs. So we're going to put 42 in here, and we'll say continue. Now we want to set our reservoir size. So I've got about 4.4 liters left in this reservoir. So I'm going to put this at 4.4, and we'll say add. We've got to upload the changes from the calibration, and dosing pump number 1 is ready. I'm going to begin adding the temperature sensor now. I've already got the temperature sensor ran. I ended up putting the temperature sensor right here. I do have a probe holder back here, but the probe holder is too big to hold this sensor. So I had some spare suction cups, and I took a zip tie and just tied the sensor around the suction cup and cleaned off a section of my sump and just put it right here. This is the other end of the temperature sensor. So we're going to connect the temperature sensor here to sense port 1. And then in the HYDROS app, the temperature sensor will be an input. So we're going to select our 3 dots. We're going to select add or edit input. I'm going to call this water box temperature. I'll say create. It wants to know the type of input. We're going to say sense port. So it defaulted to the sense port on my mixing station XS down in the basement. So we're going to select this. We're going to select the water box launch sense port 1. Sense mode is temperature probe. I'm going to change my safe range to 77 to 80 and upload changes. Alright, it is reading my water box temperature at 78.8. Alright, the pH probe has now been connected. The pH probe is right here. So let's work on getting that added as an input into the HYDROS app, and we'll get it calibrated. Alright, in the HYDROS app, I'm on my collectives page. I'm going to scroll down to inputs. I'm going to select add an input. I'm going to call this water box dash pH. We'll say create. We want to say probe port. It wants to know the probe mode. We're going to say pH. That is connected to my water box launch probe port 1. I'm going to leave the safe range to the defaults. And for now, we're going to say upload changes. I inadvertently knocked over the calibration solution that came with the HYDROS. Luckily, I have on hand some calibration solution from Pinpoint. So I went ahead and let these sit in the sump for the last half hour, and we're going to go ahead and calibrate the pH probe that came with the HYDROS using these 2 packs. I'm going to go ahead and get these opened. Trying my best not to spill it and tip it like I did last time. I do have some RO water too that I'm going to be using to rinse off between using both solutions. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the probe out of the tank. I'm going to give it a rinse inside the cup to let this air dry. I'm going to go ahead and put this into the 7 solution. I'm going to scroll down and find my pH probe, select my pH probe under the inputs. I am going to scroll down and select the calibrate section. Alright, calibration is in progress. I'm going to give this a little tap here on the side just to make sure we don't have any air bubbles. Please wait until the value is sufficiently stable and then press accept. Alright, it has been sitting at 8.25 for about a minute now, so I'm going to click accept. Alright, I'm going to pull this out of the 7 solution. I'm going to give this a dip in RO water, and now we're going to put this into the 10 solution. We are going to select on the HYDROS app, recalibrate. Alright, calibration is in progress. We are going to wait for that value to stabilize. Alright, that value has stabilized at 98.17. I'm going to click accept and upload changes. Go back to the main screen. The pH probe has been calibrated. Let's begin calibrating the Salinity Probe. So I've already got the Salinity Probe connected. I did have to purchase a BNC extension cable because the actual cable length that came with the Salinity Probe for core review was only 3 foot longer. So I bought a extension off of Amazon, which will get me an additional 6 feet. So I've already got the Salinity Probe connected into the Salinity port. One thing that is important to note when you calibrate this is which probe you are using. I didn't see any indication if this was a K1 or a K10 probe, but if you look at the box that the probe comes in shows that this is a K10 probe. I've already got my calibration solutions here been soaking. We need to shake both of these up really well before we use them. So on the HYDROS screen, I am going to scroll down to inputs. I'm going to select add a new input. We are going to call this water box dash salt. I'm going to say create. It wants to know the type of input. We are going to say Salinity port. It automatically selected the water box Salinity port 1. The probe value is a K10. For temperature input, this is going to be for ATC or automatic temperature compensation, and we want this to be based on the water box temperature sensor. And notification level, we'll leave it to orange, and we'll say upload changes. In between calibration solutions too, I did bring over some RODI water that I'm going to be rinsing the probe off in. I'm going to air dry this to get any water out. I am going to grab my 28 ppt solution. I'm going to give this a good shake, and then I'm going to add this in here, and we're going to put the probe into the solution. And now on the app, I am going to select recalibrate on the 28 ppt solution. Now this calibration, what we're waiting for is for this value to be stable. And this can take up to 2 minutes. And while this value is stabilizing, some more information on this is that Core Review had pointed out that it could take up to 3 weeks for this probe to break in. They recommend recalibrating once a week just due to manufacturing reasons. There's oils and other things from the manufacturer. It could take time for the probe itself to break in. And one thing you could do to help speed up this process is by letting the probe soak in rubbing alcohol for 24 hours overnight. We have stabilized at 46062. Probe is pretty happy at this value, so we're going to click accept. Now I'm going to give my probe a quick dip in RO water. I am going to give my 35 solution a good shake. I'm going to put this in the water. I'm going to add the probe into the solution. And in the HYDROS app, I am going to select recalibrate on the 35p PT solution. That looks like it might be stabilizing on 57246. I'm going to give this thing a tap to make sure we don't have any bubbles. And it seems pretty happy at 57246, so we're going to click accept. And upload changes. Our Salinity Probe has now been calibrated and everything is looking good to go. I know this has been a long one. We covered a lot in this video. We unboxed the HYDROS launch. We onboarded the HYDROS launch into the HYDROS app. We connected a couple of dosers. We configured a dosing schedule. We also added a couple of outputs for mixers on the HYDROS launch as well. We also added a few inputs, including the temperature probe, the salinity probe, and also the pH probe. I thank you for sticking around to the end. And if you made it to this point and this video helped you out, please be sure to smash that like and subscribe button. If you ever have any questions, I am always available on Discord. And until the next one, guys, I'm out. Peace.